We've got the Open coming up this Thursday in Southport, England. And to help us break down and discuss the top golfers that you should be picking for this event, Ginger Joe, the golf expert here at the Sports Geek, is joining me as always. Joe, this event is at Royal Birkdale, and we were just chatting about the fact that you've played this course. So you were able to provide a very unique perspective compared to the conversations that we always have, that you know what this course is like. What are some of the more important key aspects of playing at Royal Birkdale that you think could affect who ends up being a winner?
Yeah, awesome, Joe. Really looking forward to this week. The Open Championship, obviously one of my favorite events of the season, all set to take place at Royal Birkdale. And this is a venue that has actually hosted the Open Championship 10 times. The latest time the event was held here was actually back in 2017 when Jordan Spieth actually won the event. But scoring around here, Joe, can be drastically different dependent on conditions more than anything else. If we take a look at a few examples, when the event was held at Royal Birkdale in 2017, Jordan Spieth actually shot 12 under par around here. But then prior to that, the previous winner was Padraig Harrington, and he actually won with a score of 3 over par. So conditions are definitely going to be important this week. And as I write this, things are fast, they're firm, but there's not a lot of wind about at the moment. So I do think that players are going to put together a pretty decent score. I'd say Royal Birkdale, in comparison to links golf, is probably one of the fairest tests in comparison to the Open Rota. We often see courses like Royal St George's, Royal Liverpool, really undulating fairways. You do need to rely on a few sort of bounces going your way. But at Royal Birkdale, although the layout and setup is still very much links golf, the fairways are actually a little bit flatter around Birkdale. And that does often mean that the approach shots can be a little bit more of an attacking nature. The only way that you can have those attacking shots though at Royal Birkdale is finding the right position off the tee. So I think the fairness comes in with having the flat fairways here. Because if you find the wrong side of the fairway, you are going to be struggling to attack pins, because one of the best defenses of Royal Birkdale is where the bunkers are placed around here. But you will get rewarded for good shots if you find the right place off the tee. You're going to give yourself a nice angle to some of these holes and probably put together a bit of a good score. Earlier on in the week, Joe, I thought the players may be able to attack this golf course quite a bit with their approach shots, but it does look like it's firming up somewhat. However, you do need a player that's pretty good off the tee and a really good iron player, of course, around here with that little bit of creativity around the green. I suppose one final notable feature of this event in particular is winners of Royal Birkdale have included Arnold Palmer, Lee Trevino, Tom Watson, Padraig Harrington, Jordan Spieth. So real class players that have been in their prime of their game. So I think that is something well worth keeping an eye on this week. But I've got a 5-man squad, Joe, including a 500 to 1 shot that I think will significantly outplay his odds this week too. So really good event. Can't wait to get stuck in. Absolutely.
Yeah, a really exciting group of 5 guys that you brought up here. Very unique picks that we're going with. And the first one I'm intrigued by, Wyndham Clark, who at plus 3,300 odds to win the Open has a lot of intrigue. He's made 15 of 18 cuts this year. He's got 2 wins. He's got 10 top 25 finishes and 4 top 10. So he's been incredibly consistent. He's been relatively under the radar based on the fact that his odds are as high as they are. Why do you like Wyndham Clark for this event?
Yeah, he's a completely transformed golfer this season, really, in particular. Now, I've got a very good betting relationship for some reason, to be honest, Joe, with Wyndham Clark. He's a 5-time winner on the PGA Tour, and I have actually tipped him for every single one of those wins. So hopefully we can make it 6 this time round of 2. You know, you never know. We never know, but we've got to get there first. But it's really interesting with Wyndham Clark because in 2023, he made his breakthrough by winning the Wells Fargo, and then just a month later, he won his first major by winning the US Open. Now, in 2024, he proved that it was no fluke. He won the AT&T at Pebble Beach, a completely different course to what he's faced previously at the US Open and the Wells Fargo. And even though his game went missing somewhat last season, I think we spoke previously on another episode this year. I think it was for the US Open, actually, Joe. And I mentioned last year he seemed to lose his form within the scoring sense of things, but it looked to me like he was trying to adapt his game to give him the opportunity of playing well or better at a bigger variety of courses, because prior to that, he'd been very one-dimensional, hit a really strong power banana fade, but that does pretty much limit your skills to maybe half of the courses on the schedule. But last year he tried to adopt a little bit of a draw into his game. And then if you watch him this season, not only did he come back and win the Byron Nelson, but he played well at Muirfield before winning the US Open. And in every one of those 3 events, there were long par 3s where he had to adopt a draw, and he looked really comfortable in doing so. So for me, last year he went missing because he was trying to develop his game and take that game up a notch. And he's come back this year, 2 wins, won the US Open. Really, really good links player. I don't know what it is about his game in links. Maybe it's because he's so committed to his shots, but really good approach play. I don't think he's going to have any problems off the tee. Confidence is going to be really high for Wyndham Clark. Very surprised he's not shorter in the market, Joe. So he has to be the headline selection for me. I think he's going to hopefully make it 6 wins on the PGA Tour.
Now, the one pick that has the strongest odds to win the Open is Matt Fitzpatrick, who another guy who's been super consistent. He's made all 17 cuts on the PGA Tour so far. He's got 3 wins. He's got 8 top 10s, 13 top 25s. He's been one of the hotter golfers this year. So seems like it's pretty easy to make the argument for him to be a potential winner this week.
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. World number 4 now, fully deserves to be in that position too. He's a 3-time winner this year. One of those actually came with his brother Alex Fitzpatrick in the doubles, which is an incredible moment to watch. But Matty Fitzpatrick has to come here with a good chance. Like you said, Joe, he's probably playing the best golf he's ever played. And another player that really last season did lose his form somewhat, but he was trying to adapt and add a lot of power into his game. Now, what he gained in power, he definitely lost in accuracy last year. This season, however, he seems to have found that little bit of blend between power and accuracy. He's got those 3 wins to his name. Very well versed to links golf as well. He's got a major pedigree having won the US Open. Coming back to Birkdale, he's going to have no issues at all. He will love this setup from tee to green. And if he can get that flat stick going, I think he's going to have a really big chance here this week too, Joe. One more thing actually to mention is he's obviously got the cack-handed grip for his chip-in and his wedges. Really impressive. A lot of people don't like it, but I think he's been superb, and I think it's actually transformed his game this season. So not only has he been better from tee to green, his pitching's been better, his putting's been rock solid. And look, Joe, he's won 3 times this year already. Who's going to try and stop him win a 4th? So, yeah, really good chance this week.
Victor Hovland at plus 3,000 is one of the other guys that you like here. 12 of 15 on making cuts. He's got 1 event win, 7 top 25 finishes, 3 top 10s. What attracts you to Hovland for this event?
Well, again, another rejuvenated character this season, Joe. Obviously, when I mentioned some of the previous winners at Royal Birkdale, they're all players that seemingly come into this event with confidence high, with a good bit of form. And Victor Hovland, out of nowhere, seems to have found his game again. You've got to remember, he is an 8-time winner on the PGA Tour. And even though last season and maybe 6 months in 2024 as well, his game wasn't really at peak form, but the season prior to that, we were talking about Victor Hovland as a player that's going to contend with Rory and Scotty Scheffler. Now, it did go missing. It completely went missing. But he bounced back this season by winning the Travelers Championship, beating Scotty Scheffler in a playoff. He's continued to play well since then as well. And his soft fade shot shape for Royal Birkdale is absolutely perfect. That is a trend I like to follow. I should have mentioned earlier this week. Faders around this golf course are going to be able to control the ball much better in general. Of course, people that hit a draw can win this event. But I think, on the whole, the best players for this week are players that hit a fade. He's found his game again. His putting has always been a little bit hit and miss. But what I will say with Victor Hovland is that when his tee to green game is playing well, he generally starts firing in those putts as well, hitting the back of the cup. So he's a real confident sort of player. Whilst confidence is high, pretty good value for this event. Nothing really not to like about Victor Hovland whilst he is in form.
Tyrell Hatton, plus 3,000 is at the top of the odds to win the Open. He's 3 or 4 on cuts so far this year, 3 top 25 finishes and 2 top 10s. Not a guy that I think maybe as many American golf fans might be familiar with, but help us understand what golf fans watching this event should expect from Hatton.
Sure. Well, the thing with Hatton, Joe, he is very hit and miss. He's got a big temperament issue. The problem is I get roped into backing him all the time because when his game is in good flow, He is undoubtedly one of the top 5 players in the world. He has his driver on his string. He hits a real soft fade again with those irons, which means he can just attack pins and stay away from danger. And he's actually got one of the most impressive resumes on the DP World Tour and the PGA Tour when you look at the courses that he's actually won at. He won at Wentworth, he won at St Andrews, Carnoustie, Kings Barnes. Again, real notable links golf courses. But also he's won at Valderrama, a really tough parkland course. He came over and won at Bay Hill in America. You don't win at these sort of venues unless you're a really top class individual. You don't fluke that many big wins in such big tournaments. Now, like I said, his temperament definitely does get in the way of him winning a fair bit more than what he probably should. But, you know, this is links golf this week, Joe. You're going to find a lot of people getting quite hot-headed. If anything, Tyrrell Hatton should be used to it more than anyone else. So he should be able to channel that in the right direction. But his game when in full flow is absolutely superb. He's going to attack. So I expect we're going to get one way or another with Tyrrell Hatton. He's going to finish in the top 5 or he's going to miss the cut. That's how I see things going this week. But hopefully we're on the right side of things and he should give this a good run for our money.
Now, the last pick that you have caught my attention when I was preparing for us to record today. Dan Bradbury is at plus 100,000 odds here in the U.S. He had missed the cut at the Genesis and also missed the cut at the BMW Open. But help us just understand, how capable is he? Is he somebody that you would back as a winner? Is this somebody that you would throw down as a top 25 finisher? What do you like with Bradbury?
Yeah, that's worth probably specifying, really, Joe. Obviously, I'm over here in the UK, so we have something called each way betting. So it costs you twice your stake, but you get a bet on the win part, and then you get a part on the place too. We're getting sort of fifth of the odds over here. So if Bradbury finishes within the top 12, you're effectively getting 100 to 1 winner. But the specialty with links golf, Joe, over here in the UK is it really is something that's sort of ingrained in our blood. And when we grew up playing golf, we were on a lot of links courses rather than sort of Parkland PGA Tour courses, you know, where you can sort of attack green. So the English players are really well versed to open links golf. Now, every season when you watch the Open, you do find 2, 3 or 4 of the English players up there at massive odds that are actually really well suited to links golf. Now, Dan Bradbury, he is a winner on the DP World Tour. And even though he isn't ideally suited to links when you look at his attributes, I mentioned earlier on in the episode that Royal Birkdale is probably one of the fairer open tests. You can be a little bit more attacking here from tee to green. Now, when you look at the wins that Dan Bradbury has had on the PGA Tour and the good finishes that he's had on the DP World Tour season, they all come at events where he can attack the greens a little bit more with his second shot. And he has a really high ball flight. A lot of people seem to think that low ball flight suit links golf best. And I don't really think that's actually true, Joe, because controlling low ball flight shots into links golf is just, it's near on impossible. You're leaving yourself up and downs all the time. So I don't mind a high ball flight. He's a very good ball striker. The events that he's winning over here correlate very well to this sort of golf course. If this was at Carnoustie or St Andrews, I probably wouldn't fancy him as much. But Royal Birkdale, very much a second shot links golf course. And he strikes the ball ever so well. Hits a lot of greens when he's playing well too. So I think he can certainly outplay his odds. What I do like as well, Joe, when it comes to links golf is backing Dan Bradbury. I'm not comparing Dan Bradbury to Scotty Scheffler. I'm comparing Dan Bradbury to the golf course. And I can see Dan Bradbury reaching 10 under par this week, which would put him into contention. So for me, in the comparison to what is on offer in the bookies at the moment, in comparison to what he could shoot at this golf course, he's hugely overpriced. There's a lot of players at 100 and 200 to 1 that have similar credentials. But personally, I think Bradbury should be half that price. So I'm going to take a chance this week. He can play well here, absolutely. And that puts him in contention. It's very important not to get tied up in matching player to player. Just find the player that can score well, and that's what will bring him into contention. So Bradbury is my flyer this week, Joe, and I'd love to come back to this if you can get him to inside the places for sure.
Folks, do us a favor, comment below who you like for the Open. Let us know what your pick is down below in the comments, and also hit the like button on this video if you enjoyed this conversation, as well as subscribing so you don't miss out on future analysis for upcoming golf events. We'll catch you later.